Now today, while I was out riding my MT09, I was thinking how similar it is to my RD400. And of course, most people are going to say, oh, they're completely different bikes, but they have a lot of similarities, especially when you think back to all the years that I've owned RDs, many of them. And I've owned the MT09 for 3 years now, and I've already formed some good opinions. Just adjust your device and you can watch this in full 4K. We have another really hot day warming up out there, and I just can't wait to get out early and get some miles on the old MT09. Every day that I get to ride this, I never want to miss one day. Now, because I check things on a regular basis, I knew we were ready for lubing the chain and getting it adjusted. I always lube it before I adjust it. And this periodic maintenance seems to have paid off. The chain is still in pretty good shape at a little more than 15,000 miles. Sometimes the chains are gone after 10, so you never, I don't know. Maybe we're just lucky, or maybe it's a good quality chain you get with the bike. I don't know. But back in the day of the RD, one of the things you almost never had to do is adjust the chain. Once you got it stretched, it was pretty much good to go. But anyway, doing the maintenance on any bike, I think it's real important. I like to keep it nice and clean when I go out on the open road. And then once I'm out on the open road, I'm dreaming about not only the bike I'm riding, but the other bikes. I feed the fish every morning on the farm, take care of whatever chores Karen has for me. And of course, the fish love me, and they prove it every day by splashing me. And once I have all the chores done in the yard, and we do the harvest every day this time of year, we're pulling veggies out of the garden every single day, and this is one of the things Karen and I enjoy, and it gets me ready for a great 3 to 4 hour ride that I have today. So anytime I'm riding, my gut impression, the first impression you get after maybe 8-10 miles on a bike, depending on who you are, you get a feeling this bike is a lot lighter than it is. It's very nimble. It's very quick turning. It's very light. The handlebars are wide. The steering is like power steering. Everything about it is easy, and it's just hard to describe. It's exactly, well, to be honest now we got to start being honest. It's exactly like an RD. And what I always say to people, it's like having the light handling and the light feel of an RD. An RD with 3 engines, and that's exactly what the math comes out to be. And my experience is, and I go way back into the early 70s, late 60s, my experience, the power band on this bike is exactly the opposite of an RD. An RD tends to be peaky. It tends to vibrate. This bike has just tremendous low-end torque, a wonderful power band, and there's just no way to describe it, no way really fair to compare it to an older RD with all the vibration issues you always had. Now, one thing, they are extremely a lot alike. They are much happier on a back road, a twisty road, a road that's got less than great traction, a lot of sharp turns, some off-camber turns, and this is the modern version with all the safety features. And here's the version that can be just as exciting with no safety features at all. And whenever I'm on this bike, I get the same feeling of the light handling, the nimbleness, and this bike, there's just no way to describe that. I go on and on about it until you ride the bike, and then I guess it's pretty self-evident after 8-10 miles or a day in a saddle. And I've owned this one almost 3 years, and that was what I always loved about my old race bikes. This was one of them that Ray still has that I restored for him. And these bikes, they had a light, nimble feeling and great on the track. Now, there are things that are very similar, things that are extremely different. One of the things that is very similar, and I try to be fair about this, the seat on this bike, for my ergonomics, the layout of the bars and pegs, extremely comfortable for somebody my size. The RD, in its day, was one of the most comfortable riding bikes with a very comfortable seat. And often when they reviewed the bike, one of the top features they would always mention is what a comfortable seat it had. And I made some extra seats for the bike, including this one. And one of the comparisons, and this is an easy comparison to make, you don't have to be subjective about it. It's a mathematical calculation. That bike absolutely always has gotten 50 miles to the gallon. And I have timed it, checked it, and gone with the gauge that tells you the mileage. This bike, maybe about half of that would be fair. And if you go put expansion chambers on it, bigger carbs, or modify the engine, raise the exhaust ports, even worse. Now, one thing, when I bought this bike, I knew my track days were over. I had no interest in going back to the track. If I did, I would have bought a different bike, an R6 maybe, or something like that. But this bike is just the definition of fun. And back in the day, this was my definition of fun. This was one of my original race bikes that I restored for Ray Straub. He has it in his collection now. And it's still, he goes out, he's won 3 bike shows in a row with it, and he gets on it almost every weekend. Now, I'm really not big on people that compare bike A to bike B and say this one's a little faster or slower or this, that, or the other thing. It's just too subjective. But in this case, I own both of the bikes. So I can go on and I've done it on back-to-back days, ridden modern bike, older bike. And the problem is, and it's a real problem I bet a lot of people my age suffer from, I love them both. And the truth is, Karen got me both of these bikes. This one she got me for Valentine's Day 10 years ago in the MT09. This is going to be 3 years I've owned it. And believe me, I love them both. And for both of the bikes, the MT09 and the RD, I've made an array of carbon fiber parts, accessory parts. They're all out on the channel, every single one of them. And it's just, I do like to customize the bike to my taste. And for sure, the appearance of a bike is a subjective thing, personal taste. Problem is, I do like both of these. I like the look of a modern bike, the edgy look, the little fly screen, and the classic look of the RD. The classic look where you can look right through the frame, you can reach down and touch the carburetors, and you can see that highly polished engine. Now, another thing that's very similar about the bikes, both of them I think are relatively easy to maintain, relatively easy to do all the normal maintenance, the oil changes and things. And for me, that's a real selling feature. Now on the MT09, there's an awful lot of little parts I made from carbon fiber, some I got from Vlad, parts I made from sheet. A lot of the painting, this bike really has a lot of paint. It's got about a quart of that Yamaha blue paint. I don't think I have a lot left. And thank you, Dennis, for getting a nice match on that. And the 2 fly screens I have, 2 different ones. And the RD, when I painted it, I wanted it to match my FZR. And Dennis once again came through with perfect paint match. And one thing is for sure, and one thing both bikes have in common, they bring out the hooligan in you. And there's another thing these bikes have in common. They're identical twins. When you get on them and the road ahead of you is open, whether it's twisted or straight, there's no cars in front of you, all you want to do is get on that quick shifter, or in the case of the RD, just go through the gears. And you always have the feeling that you're just like a MotoGP rider. The sound of the going through the gears, either with the quick shifter or with the mufflers or with the tuned expansion pipes. Great sounds. Well, it's time to take the MT09 back to the farm where his brother, the RD, waits for him so they can sit. I bet they talk about me when I'm not there. Had a great ride from a nice tank of gas, and if we were on the RD we would have used 2 tanks of gas. Hey, 50 miles to the gallon, you can't go wrong, and all the wheelies you want. It's an amazing combination. The RD was a great bike in its day. To me, it's still a lot of fun. But what makes any bike worthwhile or worth having in your collection, or having period, is that you enjoy it. And I always encourage people, ride the bike you like, whether it's an old RD, a brand new MT, whether you want a cruiser, a dirt bike, or a Hayabusa to go blasting down a highway, whatever makes you happy, because that's the whole purpose of motorcycling, and it's why we all share the passion. We share the passion for all these bikes, old and new, RD or MT. And thanks so much for watching.